Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Let's discuss something fun today. Villains. What's the difference between villains you root for and villains you just hate and can't wait for them to pretty much die? This is based off of a question I saw online. Definitely try to be as relatable as possible. So if you all have any questions, anything that you guys want me to talk about, I'm definitely going to do my best to get to those and do a video. I'm going to do a mixture of literary villains and movie TV show villains. So right off the bat, one of my very favorite characters is Spike, William Pratt from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. A oldie, but a goodie. Very old TV show. But that was the character that came to mind when I first saw this question. And, well, right off the bat, I rooted for this character right away. Very young, and I knew he was the bad guy, but one of the things I think helps with the generic bad boy character is if they're hot or not. And I found the actor to be very hot and attractive. So I had no valid reasons in the beginning for rooting for this character. But as time went on, we got to know the character. I did root for him beyond his looks. I mean, he had a really big heart, especially for a vampire who's supposed to be evil, and the other vampires that we were introduced to on the show, you didn't see them have that type of sensitivity. His character immediately was just over the moon about Drusilla, his love interest on the show. So it was just like a lot of, oh, he loves her, oh, he's doing this, and oh, a lot of those type of moments. So in the beginning, that's why I really rooted for the character. And then as time went on, you really saw that this character was more than the typical vampire in that show, but also in many shows in literature. This character definitely was not afraid to show his personality, his heart. I mean, the guy was watching Passions. Seriously, it was just, I rooted for that villain when he was the villain at the time. So for me, looks do count. I think looks count in the perceived bad boy versus villain, because a lot of times writers, TV, or just in books, they'll put the bad boy as the villain, but it's not. Is it really a villain, or is he just a wayward child? I thought also of Regina Mills from Once Upon a Time TV show, and how that character had me rooting for her. I will admit I didn't see all the seasons, but I did root for that character because right off the bat they made her sympathetic, crazy, and I didn't like how they did her redemption story. I felt that definitely a lot of ownership didn't happen. It was just kind of brushed over, and everything was like, oh, so forgiving, but then more stuff will happen, and it's like, wait a minute, I thought this was forgiven, so why are you mad at other characters? Regina, she gets a free pass. So there's a lot of hypocritical stuff going on, but they did make her sympathetic enough that I rooted for this character to have success, to have a good life, to change because I knew where they were going. I knew the character wasn't going to be the villain of the story, the main villain of the story. That she was the villain, but she's not going to be the villain. She's redemption, whatever. So it made it easier for me to root for this villain because she was not the evil villain that is just the main focus of the story. Like the good guys are trying to destroy the villain, etc. We knew pretty much early on that this character's staying. This character, you know, is a great mom, other than trying to manipulate her son into thinking he's crazy and all this other stuff, and being a killer and etc. But the point is, the writers of the episodes pretty much just was very they weren't hiding that this character is not going to be like the big bad. She's flawed, but she's not the villain, if you know what I mean. So it seemed like her and Rumple took turns being like the villain, but then they had the Peter Pan and etc. etc. So it was just mainly, it didn't seem like anybody was the villain. Like at least with Spike, he was the villain. There was no question about it. They even were not thinking about bringing his character back in the beginning because they was like, he's the villain, he's the big bad, to be destroyed. If you're going to have a villain or a big bad, then your protagonist, your good guy, has to defeat them. Or lose. Either one. So with Regina, they didn't set it up like that. So it was easier for me to root for that character. And I think that would be another difference. You have the looks, but then you also have the setup of the character being more so the wayward child, or was evil in the past, but is currently on the road to redemption. If they are introducing that character during their redemption arc, it's easier to root for them. You're not going to hate them and say, "Oh, I want you dead." A couple of times I was like, I don't know about her, but I didn't want her dead. And then we get to Klaus Michelson. Straight up evil. Straight up villain. I don't know what before y'all click off, I do love the character. But I loved him in the originals. I didn't love him in the first, and when he was in the Vampire Diaries. I liked him, but I definitely did not see any redemption arc for him. So it was easy to root for his demise. I did not root for him like, oh, love him. I didn't. For him, those writers really did a good job of making sure he was a villain, unliked, and he was charismatic. He had, I guess some people found him attractive. So they kind of flirted the line of the first two things I talked about for the other characters. But he was very, very straight-focused villain. Has to be the story. And they tried to kill him. So, multiple times. So, I didn't root for him. And I think that's a difference between rooting and wanting the character to die. Is the character is not the main character, actively trying to kill the main characters or characters, is killing, evil, not showing any type of remorse, any type of innocence, nothing. So he was a very well written villain. We did later on see some things to start to make us feel a little more pity for him, maybe. You know, with his father being as crazy and much of an asshole as he was, abusive and everything, you start to feel pity for him. And it kind of leads up, I don't know if they started They started that early on because they knew they were going to give him his own show with the originals. But in the beginning, definitely didn't root for him. Still didn't root for him even after learning more about him. Felt pity, and I started to feel like, oh, he got a bad stick in life. He got the short stick of life. It sucks, but he's still evil. And there was just nothing remorse. He had no remorse. He did have that whole, oh, well, he has some feelings because he's digging Caroline. I guess that's enough for some people. Some people just say, who cares if he's a murderer? And I mean, he was actively killing people while he was still, interested in Caroline. Who cares if he's interested in a girl? He's still actively killing. So whatever. I did root for him a little bit when during the originals series, just because he really started to he was the main character. So even though he was a villain, he wasn't the villain of his own show. Or was he? Because his family were main characters as well. They were all main characters in the early seasons. So he was a villain of the family? Villain to the other main characters? I don't know. But I did root for the family, the Michelsons. I rooted for them in the originals. Even though they were still killing and doing very un-good guy stuff. But their whole focus about family, and you can relate to that as a watcher. So I think that would be the third thing I would list as what's the difference. Difference of villains you're going to root for and villains you're going to wish would die already. It's how relatable they are. If you can relate to them and you feel that, like, okay, if somebody's messing with my family, or what lengths would I go to protect my family? So I get that. It's relatable. So it's relatable. You can enjoy that in a character. So he was a badass, enjoyed his family, started to get better, a little better, and then they really, really laid heavy on how crazy his parents were. So then you start to feel more pity, you start to really sympathize, like, okay, a lot happened to him. So you start to feel for him, so then you don't want him to die because you're starting to get attached. So, 3 things so far. And then, trying to see a character I definitely want to die. Voldemort in, was it Tom Riddle in Harry Potter? I wanted him to die from the beginning. There was no part, I don't care, he was an orphan. I don't care the kids in the orphanage bullied him, and I just don't care. There is nothing about that character that made me pity him or made me root for him. I was just waiting for his demise. I was waiting for the main character. Well, Harry wasn't going to kill, but then later on he finally, I guess, grew up and said, okay, I got to get rid of this guy. But yeah, that was a character I definitely always wanted. I was waiting for their demise. I was waiting for them to be killed off. But there was nothing. I mean, the background of him being an orphan, okay. There was nothing throughout the books, the movies, nothing that made me change my mind about him. He was evil. Straight up evil. Killing people. Trying to kill a kid. He over here taking things to medieval levels. He over here want to kill a kid just because of some prophecy. Killing babies. Nope. Nothing redeemable. What else? Maybe, let me see, one that's a toss up. Darth Vader. I think that goes back to, I should have put him with Spike. I will admit, I haven't read the comics, graphic novels. I don't know. I just watched the movies, and I like the movies. I am one of those people who got into Star Wars based on the movies, and I never picked up the comics. I never picked them up, and don't ever plan to. But at my age, I was first introduced to the movies with the Anakin saga. So what is his name? I'm trying to remember his name. I find him very cute. And so when he started tripping out and nobody wanted to listen to Yoda. He didn't need to be trained. I found the actor very attractive. So by the second movie, I was like, I don't care. He's about to be Darth Vader. I don't care. I'm rooting for him. I didn't want him to lose. I knew that he needed to die, but still, I was definitely happy that he didn't end up dying. On the third movie, when him and Obi-Wan was fighting, I didn't want Obi-Wan to die either. I was very conflicted. But I'm telling you, when he got all chopped up, I was hurt. I don't care, he was a villain. At that point, he's the villain. He's a villain at that point. I didn't care. I was like, oh, my baby. He not, no. I was upset. And because I don't follow the story, the comics and everything, I thought that was like his end. I thought that was the end of him until, you know, the movie keeps going and then they put him in the machine or the costume, whatever. I don't know. Don't get on me. I don't know the terminology. So I was happy. And then now that Obi-Wan's almost said Netflix Disney series came out, and then I see my baby over there. What's his name? Christian? Is that it? Christian? I'll have to look that up. But I'm happy he's back. I was looking at him. I was like, oh yeah, okay. Not as hot as I remember, but still, I'm rooting for him. I don't root for him, even though he's definitely the villain now. Darth Vader, definitely the villain now. I don't care. Still gonna root for him. So that goes back to the first of the four. I said attractiveness. I have no valid reasons. But I mean, the second one, I did enjoy him and Padme's relationship, and then I understood his kind of mental breakdown of, you know, being manipulated and then just being so afraid after losing his mom, of losing the only other person he really loves. You know, he should have been loving Obi-Wan as well. Stayed away from the dark side. But I get it. Oh, I should have did the newer movie though. Should have did that the son of Leah and whatever. Okay, anyway. that character, I never rooted for him for his demise. But not because of the attractiveness, just because of the story. I was like, y'all did this fool wrong. And then, what you expect? He turned to someone else after you tried to murder his ass. But he was still like, okay, something wrong with you. You couldn't forgive. I know you don't have to forget, but you couldn't forgive. Try to work it out. He was just lost. He was a lost soul. Wayward child. What was that? Number 2 or number 3? I said. So, I didn't want his demise. Okay, anyway. Before I get to my own characters. Okay, last one before I get to my own character. I already know I'm going to butcher the name. But it's one from my favorite book series. The character's name is Melisande. De la Courcelle. I'm butchering it. I'll have to get the audio of that book at some point, if they have an audio, so I can listen to all the pronunciations of everything. But that character was another character that did not wish for their demise, even though they ended up being a villain. But with this character, it's the last difference. They were not introduced right away as the villain. So the writer, my favorite author, Miss Jacqueline Carey, her book's right there. So, there you go. Starting with this book. The first book, Keisha's Dart. Starting with that book, she wasn't the villain off the break. You know, she was a little mysterious, young, kind of perceived as a little dangerous, you know, her household. But she was just deemed as, you know, mysterious and mysterious, sexy, powerful, smart, witty, cunning. So she was made to be a likable character off right away to me. So it's like you made us get to know this character and like this character, and then you start to see, okay, maybe we really should have been weary of her. But by then, it's hard to be weary of her. It's like, I know this probably isn't good for me, but I'm still going to enjoy it. So, even though she got worse and worse, I still loved her character. It was too late at that point. I was already in the water without my life jacket. I was just gonna have to drown, or wish, or hope and pray that she will save me, pull me back to shore or something. Goodness, it reminded me when it was what was it, the Keisha's Chosen? I think it was Keisha's Chosen. When that crazy lady had Fadrique captured in that prison, it had the nerve to try to give her out. I was like, this chick is really gonna let her suffer and suffer unless she takes the optional route of taking her hand, which really is pretty much suffering in itself. I was like, you ain't giving her no good options, are you? But I don't know. Before she was saved, I'm gonna spoil your. Okay, too late now. So before she was saved, man, I was like, girl, you better take her offer and go. Like, you already know what's going to be in store for you, so it's not like you ain't never do it before. You better just go ahead. I was like, It's probably wrong to say this, but I was rooting for them. I really like Jocelyn. I love Jocelyn. But for some reason, I just couldn't. I was like, she could have her cake and eat it too. I was like, why Frederica can't have both? I have problems, I know. And then lastly, Brenda Aurelius from my book series Virtue's Academy. She was the villain from the get-go. She was just the bad mom, bad guy. She wasn't like the main villain right away. But if you read the book, you'll realize that she ends up being one of the main villains. And she's like charismatic, she's hardworking, she's about business and her legacy, her covenant's legacy, her family. Not very good at it, you know, but you gotta hate to love her. I definitely rooted for her demise as an author, but I was surprised that some readers said they loved her character, and it really made me have to think, like, wow, what does make someone root for the villain or wish for their demise? And it's like, okay, she's horrible. Why do you like her? There's no moments where she's good, especially in the first book. Then the second book, I did show her a little bit more, but oh damn, that's another spoiler. I'm just doing all spoilers on this video. Hopefully you read the first book and you read the second book. Sorry if you haven't. But yeah, the second book, I was really, and it might come across, I was really trying to decide if I was going to give her a redemption arc or if I was just going to kill her. To be honest, I really was. She was a villain, but because some people liked her, I had to really sit down with Brenda and have a conversation with her and figure out what I'm going to do with her. And if you read the book, you know what I decided. But while I was writing, I was deciding. So you might see little things of, you might see her more in book 2. But I don't know. With her, I can't give the answer. Some people was just, you know, they really enjoyed her charismatic personality. They liked her strength, her power, her snark. Maybe she was almost like a Klaus, but I think Klaus has more family qualities. Like he would never lay hand on his kids. Brenda would, if you read the book, you know. Klaus might be better than her. I don't know. She crazy. So you guys tell me, what for you is the difference between rooting for a villain and wishing for them to just die? You let me know. What villains have you rooted for? What villains have you just wished would die? And give me the names of the books, movies, TV shows, whatever it is. You guys let me know.